AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Muso. Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you're driving home with us. Another baseball weekend in the rearview mirror as we inch closer to the start of conference play. One more weekend, and they'll start throwing it out there for real in SEC play. David Dellucci, SEC Network, good enough to join us. Luch, great to have you back, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure as always, man. Okay, biggest takeaway from the weekend, what was it?
Biggest takeaway is the players and teams are starting to ramp up a little bit. Competition's getting bigger. Texas is for real, and UCLA may right now have earned that number one spot in the country. So looking forward to as this season moves forward, teams starting to play tougher competition. No more patty cake games, and the teams that are still able to take care of business right now, really showing that they're prepared for the season. So we'll talk about the LSU Tigers. I think they're just in a little lull right now, trying to find themselves after such a big opening weekend and adrenaline rush. Everything's starting to settle down now.
The Bruce Bolt College Classic was this weekend. Texas beat Coastal Carolina, Baylor, and Ohio State. What was so impressive about Texas that makes you believe they are for real?
Pitching staff is legit. I think right now they're leading the SEC overall with like a 1.5 ERA. And the guy that I've been kind of looking for, he reminds me a lot of Zach Hess, former LSU closer, is Dylan Belantis. They moved him from the closing role. He was darn near unhittable in the closing role last year. He's their number 3 starter. Just curious to see how he was going to make that adjustment. It's not easy, but he has done outstanding. I think he just recently gave up his first run of the season. And if that is your number 3 guy, the other 2 guys are really, really good. And Ruger Riojas is a starter from last year that's really commanding the game and picked up where he left off. So good team, fantastic offense, but their pitching staff has been incredible so far.
Now, you also mentioned UCLA earning the number 1 ranking. They beat Mississippi State in 10 innings, 8-7. But what is it about UCLA that gives you confidence they can sustain?
It's a veteran team. Made their way to Omaha last year, first time in about 12 years. I actually picked UCLA and LSU in the championship of the College World Series when this is all said and done. Rock Chalowski, their shortstop, is about as good of a player as you're going to find right now. His ability to play defense is terrific. Power and speed to go with it. But all in all, the lineup from top to bottom is really solid. There's no holes. The defensive play is very good. Now, we'll see as the season goes on how they are depth-wise, but currently right out of the gate, it's a team that is really playing. And look, the Mississippi State game that they played went into extra innings, could have gone either way. It was an argued strikeout call that State could have walked it off on a walk, a ball that bounced over the fence that ended up being a ground rule double that could have help State win. It was a back and forth all game, and UCLA just pulled it out. They just had enough firepower to do it. But with that loss and barely losing, it also shows how good Mississippi State is this year, early part of the season, one of the better defenses in the country, and a pitching staff that's improving every single time they go out there. So another top team in the nation in Mississippi State.
Dave Dellucci is our guest, SEC Network. What other, I want to get to LSU here in a second. Before we pivot to the Tigers, another team that caught your eye from the league this weekend, good or bad, who and why?
I'm going to tell you bad would be Vanderbilt. And look, they started off the season good, and this is why you really can't put a whole lot of weight on the first 2 weeks of the season, because you don't know who they're playing and what the caliber of the teams that they're playing. Vanderbilt went on like a 6-game winning streak where they hit 16 home runs. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is going to be a Vandy club that is going to put the offense together with pitching, which that's always their calling card. And then all of a sudden they go and they hit the rails and had a very poor showing against UC Irvine and a loss, poor showing against Arizona, who's pretty legitimate team, and then losing to Oregon. And just to come out of there 0 for 3 is not good. They also had to pull their ace pitcher, Austin Nye, with bicep soreness. That is not a good injury, especially early in the year. So it's a team that I'm concerned with from the negative side.
Luch, it's funny you mentioned no more like layups, cupcake games. LSU still has a few more. But I would love an opinion on what you've seen from the Tigers so far. As the defending champs, replacing a lot, but, seen some really good, some maybe not so good. Thoughts so far?
Yeah, it's almost as if, and everybody sees the same thing, LSU just can't put good pitching and good hitting together. In 1 week, they're pitching the ball really well, and then can't get any hits, and the next week they're hitting well, and the pitchers aren't up to what we expect them. I look at them. Remember, it's a team that won the national championship last year, and they're coming back off a high. They've got a bullseye on their back every time they take the field. And I just look at the roster, and I look at what Jay picked up in the transfer portal, and I think about his track record with offense. I'm worried about him. It's still early on. As I look into the top hitters in the SEC, there's not an LSU player in the top 10 in batting average. That's interesting. Haven't seen that a whole lot. But if I think that Derek Curiel is not going to get on track and be one of the best hitters in the conference, I'd be crazy. So Jake Brown has been the guy that's been carrying the offense. Is he going to hold that up all year long? Not sure, but I think Stephen Milam's going to step up and carry the weight. So when you think of guys that you lost, like Jared Jones, but you've been able to replace them with York and some of these other big sluggers, Caraway, they're going to come together. They're going to gel. It's just taking them a little while. And as long as you have Kason Evans healthy, William Schmidt healthy, Cooper Moore has been outstanding, they're just going to get better and better. I'd rather them peak in a couple weeks than to peak right now and hit a rut as you get in the middle of conference play.
LSU and Vanderbilt open up conference play here in a couple of weeks there in Nashville. It'll be interesting to see if the Commodores can get on track before then. I want to ask also about Tennessee, Luch, because for better or worse, they're interesting, right, for all the reasons we understand. They went and played in Globe Life this weekend, lost to UCLA 12-5, but then beat Arizona State and Virginia Tech. What have been your impressions of the Vols in the early going this year?
Not really sure, because of the series that stands out to me is the Kent series, where they lost 2 or 3 to Kent State and really looked like they were outclassed and outplayed, and then they'll show signs of a really good team that has a bunch of veterans they picked up in the transfer portal, and then they'll kind of sputter a little bit, and the fan base will go crazy. It's very similar to Texas A&M last year. You lose your head coach, a charismatic coach that has a lot of success, then you have to start from scratch. And Josh Elander came through the ranks at Tennessee, so the players know him, but it's an almost completely new roster that he's running out there. It's going to take them some time. They're good players. Whenever you have a reset like what they did, the other SEC teams are just carrying on from the success they had the next year. So you tend to get jumped very quickly in this league. So all eyes will be on Tennessee because of the success they had in the past. But once again, I think they're good. I just don't know if they're at the upper echelon like a Florida, like a LSU, like Mississippi State. They got a ways to go.
Last one, Luch. I want to ask you about Ole Miss, because that was a team that a lot of people that I trust coming into this season thought that could be maybe one of the surprise teams in the league this year. They went to Houston this weekend, lost 2 out of 3, lost to Baylor, lost to Coastal, beat Ohio State 8-0. Maybe a quick thought on Ole Miss so far through the first couple of weeks?
Yeah, really veteran offensive team. They're going to slug the ball. They'll be able to hit with anybody. They're going to battle. I like seeing them battle. Didn't like watching their play against Baylor. They lost with their ace, Hunter Elliott, on the mound. You can't do that. You got to take advantage of a terrific start that he had. And then Coastal, if you look at it from the surface, you're like, yeah, Coastal's I think number 9 team in the country. That's understandable, but they also were losing 2 starters, so they lost to about Coastal's number 5 starter in the rotation. And so the Rebs, they need to find, as old and seasoned as that offense is, they got to be able to put it on even on Sundays. So got a little ways to go, but I think they're going to be a very solid team. I think in the end they're going to be a regional team. But once again, there's such a big difference from the teams up top to the teams in the second tier that just because you make a regional doesn't mean that you're going to be the top of the SEC conference.
David Dellucci, SEC Network. Always good enough to join us here Mondays during the baseball season. Appreciate the time in the chat as always, Luch. Look forward to doing it again next week, man.
Sounds great. Me too. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. That is David Dellucci. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen. SouthPointVW.com. New certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge online. SouthPointVW.com. A Saturday with the St. Jude School auction. Great fundraiser over there where Erica works. And Erica and I and a couple of friends went to the event together. We drove in Erica's Atlas, picked up our friends, tons of room, captain's chairs in the middle, tons of leg room, all the features that you'd want. Beautiful, stylish, style, feel, performance of luxury without the cost. And all the great safety features. And what an amazing selection they have right now over at South Point Volkswagen. Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. You know what that means. They have more inventory, so they have more selection and better pricing. But also, if you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, people come in to buy a new vehicle, they trade in their old vehicles. So South Point Volkswagen has a huge certified pre-owned selection, not just Volkswagens. Yes, Volkswagens, but all different makes and models. Go to the website, southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. Do it right now. If you're in the market for a vehicle, go check it out, southpointvw.com. Top of the page, you'll see new or used. You're looking for new, hit the new tab. If you're looking for pre-owned vehicles, hit the used tab, and you'll search all there. Year, make, model, body style, price. Narrow down that search. Super easy. If it's on the lot, it's online at southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? All right, been a really good show. Glad you're hanging out with us here. Tigers are back at it tonight against Northeastern at the box, about an hour and 15 minutes away from first pitch, which you can hear, of course, on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, and affiliates of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Of course, our Lafayette affiliate. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette, 104.1 Lake Charles. So you can catch the games there as well. I am anticipating that before we go off air, we'll have the starting lineup. So we'll sift through it a little bit. Really, the only decision is who's going to start the game, who's going to be starting pitcher in the game, and then who's in left field. I guess it could certainly be a question of who's going to DH, depending on what Northeastern is going to do on the mound. But we'll get into all that when the starting lineup is released before we get out of here. Otter will be here in 30 minutes for Otter Locks. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. Maybe the biggest storyline for us locally here out of the Combine was Garrett Nussmeier sort of disclosing his injury timeline and being more forthcoming about his injury. And has some thoughts on that. We'll continue here on AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. You know where they are. Seaganeer Airline, LA 16 in Dedham, Mid-City on Don Moore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Tell you every day to buy local, shop local. Really what I'm encouraging you to do is bypass the big box store. I think sometimes we always have the tendency just to go to the big box store because you might think, well, it's convenient or the selection, whatever the case may be. But the reality is Clegg's has been serving Baton Rouge in the greater Baton Rouge area for 6 decades. And whatever you may need, they have it. They have local products with local people. Johnny Naylor's seeds, which you're not getting anywhere else. So go to Clegg's Nursery. And they are convenient anywhere in greater Baton Rouge. I mean, Seagoneer Airline, LA-16 in Denham. There's not the Garden Center within a 5-mile radius of that one. You're the Mid-City location. You turn off of Florida on a Donmore. It's right there on the right. And then the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs, incredible location. Check it out. Buy local, shop local. Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
Remember, if you missed anything, AFR On Demand, presented by Brett Golf. Dalton Wasserman was here in hour 1 from Pro Football Focus. He spent the week at the Combine. Gave us a great rundown of who stood out to him, what the Saints might do at 8. Big fan of Jeremiah Love and of Sonny Styles as well, who that name is starting to gain a lot of attention. Ross Dellinger was here about an hour ago, and we just heard David Dellucci. Remember, you miss anything. Podcast, YouTube, you can get it to search AFR, or after further review, AFR LSU, AFR Saints. If you want our LSU content or Saints content, you get it all presented by Brett Golf. Book your teatimegolf.breck.org. Over the weekend, Garrett Nussmeier obviously was at the NFL Scouting Combine, and he garnered a lot of headlines because he gave his most expansive or descriptive comment so far about the core or ab injury that slowed him in 2025. This is what Nuss said.
My injury occurred in fall camp, day 2, practice 2 of fall camp. How much did it affect me? It was, I think it was pretty evident. I really wasn't able to throw the football. I had a stabbing pain in my ab every time I went to go throw the ball. And, we weren't able to figure out exactly what it was. It was a frustrating deal, and it wasn't LSU's fault. It wasn't the doctor's fault. They did a great job of taking care of me and the trainers there. It was just a rare deal. It was just a thing that, we really didn't figure out what it was until about 2 months ago. I had about 9 days to prepare for the Senior Bowl and try and get back right for that. And so made a lot of progress over the last month, and so feeling much more like myself, which has been exciting.
So a couple of things there from Garrett. How frustrating, obviously, for him and for everybody, but saying it was day 2 of fall camp, and they didn't figure out what it was until, he said, about 2 months ago, which would be the end of December, like around the bowl game is about what, as that timeline would track, where they would have figured out what it was. Which is perplexing, right? Because if you're talking about an ab or a core, something like that, you go do imaging. You do MRI, you do x-ray. If it's muscular, if it's a pull, a strain, a tear, whatever, that would reveal itself on imaging and testing, but they weren't able to figure out what it was, he said, until about 2 months ago. And by the way, they still haven't disclosed. He still hasn't disclosed exactly what the injury was. So I'm going to be fascinated to find out when we find out exactly what that injury was and why it took them so long to diagnose what exactly it was. But what was so interesting to me, and I do understand a lot of this for people, is water under the bridge. Right? The season's over. Brian Kelly has been fired. Lane Kiffin's here, and there's so much excitement moving forward. But there's a really interesting butterfly effect game that you could play here with this Nussmeier abdominal injury. So follow me. And I went back and actually, if you're watching, I have my fall camp notebook, so I went and looked at my practice notes to sort of cross-check this with the timeline he gave and the updates Brian Kelly gave during the time. So practice 1 was Wednesday, July the 30th. And I have all my notes here. But who was practicing, who was out there? They started indoors, went outdoors, did 5-on-7, did 11-on-11. I got all my notes, okay? Day 2 was Thursday, July 31st. The media got to watch 15 minutes of practice, then they kicked us out. They didn't kick us out because of Nussmeier's injury. What I'm saying is that the injury, whatever, very likely happened after we were gone. We got to watch the first 15 minutes, then we were out. But what was interesting is that practice 3, we didn't have access. And by the way, that wasn't because of injury. We get a list or we get a schedule before fall camp for the week to say when our availability is. So we knew we got to watch the first 2 days. Day 3, we didn't. Then the fourth practice, we did. So keep in mind, the injury happens on Thursday, July 31st. The next practice on Friday, we don't get to watch. We're back out there Saturday, and we get the full practice. They'll let us watch the entire practice. So we had Nussmeier's hurt on Thursday. We don't get to watch Friday. Saturday, we get to watch the full practice. And they are full pads. I'm sorry, they're shoulder pads. So shoulder pads, girdles. Start indoors and go outdoors. And I looked through my entire notes. I'm not saying Garrett's being dishonest or untruthful. I'm just illustrating a point here because I believe him completely. I do. There's no reason for him to lie about it. But I'm looking at my notes, y'all, and Garrett was a full participant. They did 11-on-11 drills, not against air, and he took all the reps with the ones. When they did 2 11-on-11 periods. Garrett took all the reps with the ones. They did 2 different one periods with the 11-on-11. So 3 different series of 11-on-11s. They did the DB wide receiver drills, and he was part of the rotation along with Van Buren and Colin Hurley. So 2 days after the injury, he was out there participating fully. It wasn't until August the 15th. So remember, this was August 2nd. It was 2 weeks later that Brian Kelly, we go watch practice, and Garrett Nussmeier is not throwing. They were at the indoor, and Nuss doesn't throw. Whenever they're doing first team, it's Van Buren taking the first team reps, throwing. Nuss is just taking air reps. And afterwards, Brian Kelly explained why.
Nuss is much more about managing his throws. He hit a number of throws where we give him some time to back off a little bit. He'll be back out tomorrow, full go, scrimmaging tomorrow.
By the way, he was. They went scrimmage, full go, and Nuss was a full go in that scrimmage. 10 days later, August 25th, Saturday before Clemson in Tiger Stadium, again, Nuss not throwing. Here was Kelly's explanation.
When you get into the camp situation, we have a pitch count where we want to take our quarterback's load off, and all the installation was in, Matt. We were done with installation. So this was just more throwing. We wanted to wait and get into Clemson in game week. And so he'll be out there on Tuesday, practicing full.
Okay, so that was August 25th. A week later, they beat Clemson, and then they play Tech, and then they play Florida, and despite 5 interceptions, they only scored 20 points. And people are looking around going, what's going on with the offense? And the Monday after Florida, Brian Kelly acknowledges something's up.
I'll be honest, and I wasn't going to get into this, but with you guys, I will. He's been slowed a little bit with a torso injury, and he's fighting through it, and he's getting better. And he's not going to be able to really shut it down until we get to the bye week. And I'm not saying that has had any of his troubles. I think he is a symptom of what I just answered from Wilson in that, we're not ripping it, on 4th down. We're taking some plays away from him.
So Kelly acknowledges he's slowed by the torso, said he won't get back to 100% till the bye. But remember also, they still don't know what the issue is as of this point. They can't find anything wrong with him. They haven't diagnosed anything. He says he's slowed and limited, but they can't find anything wrong. And so then he goes out there against Southeastern and has a monster day. Like it looks more, they score 56. I'm not looking at the box score in front of me, but Nuss has a monster day. And I think everyone sort of exhales and goes, okay, he's had time. He's healed now. He's rested from whatever, and he looks good. And this was Brian Kelly after the Southeastern game.
Well, you saw him play versus the other teams, and you saw him that night, and I think you could see a difference in what he was doing. He was much more confident throwing the football. So, yeah, there's a couple things we can clean up, with him, and I think that's good that there's a couple and he can continue to play better. But it's good to see him back to where he had been prior to the year, and I know he's feeling really comfortable right now.
Back to where he had been. He's feeling really comfortable. So I guess, Mike, it was 56-10, by the way, was that score. and Nuss played basically a half, and he threw for 273. That's where I kind of wonder, did he get better and then have a re-aggravation, which we know Kelly acknowledged that later, that he re-aggravated, which ultimately is why he shut down. But how close to healthy was he as he got healthier, as they managed the load, they gave him time off and all that stuff? But we saw it with our eyes. Like, he looked more like Nuss in that game. And then a week later, they lose to Ole Miss. Nuss, after the game, was asked about his health and said this.
I'm not going to answer any questions about my health right now. Currently, right now, obviously, I'm frustrated about the loss, and just looking to get back, watch the tape, find ways to get better.
They'd beat South Carolina, lose 3 straight, Vandy, A&M, Bama, and of course, Nuss didn't play the second half against Bama and didn't play for the rest of the season, and now has sort of been forthcoming about what's been going on. I would still love to know what the diagnosis was, and maybe we'll find that out in time. But I mentioned sort of that butterfly effect, which, as you think of it, I think most people LSU fans are thrilled with the direction of the program. I mean, Lane Kiffin hasn't won a game, but you pulled off a major coup getting Kiffin away from Ole Miss. He has really embraced everything here, right? I mean, he's riding the Mardi Gras, he's riding in Endymion. They announced that he's going to be riding the Wear to the Green parade on St. Patty's Day. He's at the box. He's at gym meets. He's at women's basketball games. He's at supper club. He's everywhere. Yeah, he's really embraced all of it. The staff, the portal class, expectations. I think everyone is thrilled. You're thrilled with the direction of the program. You can't help but wonder, what if Nuss had been healthy this year? Because I think we could agree, 100% Nuss, you're beating Ole Miss and you're beating Oklahoma. Those were 2 games that you let get away. You forget, man, the Ole Miss game, you lost that game by 5. It was 24-19. And you had some plays that you left out there. You had a pick 6 called off, that came off the board. Anyway, and then we all saw the Oklahoma game. I mean, it was 2 coverage busts. But anyway, even if you still lose to Vandy, A&M, and Bama, you're 9-3, and you're not firing Brian Kelly at 9-3. So does Kiffin? Ole Miss doesn't make the playoffs because they would have lost to LSU. Does Kiffin go to Florida? Lane Kiffin very likely is the Florida head coach today. Brian Kelly is still the coach at LSU. You don't sign the portal class. You're not going to sign 40 guys. You're not going to have as much turnover. The whole thing looks dramatically different. It's fascinating to sort of look at the butterfly effect of whatever this torso thing was that Garrett Nussmeier had that limited him to whatever degree that led LSU to have the season that they did. We might look back with the benefit of hindsight and say that it was for the best. The worst thing in going 7-6 and firing your coach and paying the buyout and all that stuff could end up being the best thing if Lane pays off, right? If he pays it off and you end up winning a lot of games and championships and all that stuff. That's going to be an interesting point of demarcation in the history of the program forevermore. Like we all talk about with Nick Saban leaving in 2004 after the 2004 season, or Ryan Perrilloux being dismissed before the 2008 season. Like, how different might the LSU program have been if Perrilloux had been the quarterback in 2008 after the championship year instead of the Andrew Hatch, young Jarrett Lee year in 2008, which, of course, changed the way Les approached everything forevermore. That's when he offensively went into a cocoon because he just was never going to allow the offense to lose them games again by turning the football over. So he fundamentally changed his approach and how he approached offensive football. There are these moments. I mean, of course, we can go back to the tragedy in 1980 of Bo Ryan dying. What if Bo Ryan had coached LSU? Who knows how that all might have gone? And then, of course, there's the great one, which is the Drew Brees Miami. Like, what if Miami's doctors hadn't failed Drew Brees on the physical and Brees ends up the quarterback in Miami? Maybe Nick Saban stays there. He never goes to Alabama. Who knows what the last decade and a half looked like? There's so many great what ifs when you play that sort of butterfly effect game. But this Garrett Nussmeier injury, is going to be one that time will tell, based on what happens with Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge, how it all plays out. But we're going to look back at that as really a seminal moment, a a real fork in the road in the history of LSU football with what happened with Garrett Nussmeier on day 2 of fall camp in 2025 when there was so much expectation around the Tigers that they just didn't manifest, in large part because ended up leaning on a limited quarterback and then a backup quarterback. Hope everybody stays healthy in 26 and they reach those goals. All right, it's after further review. We'll knock out a quick break. Let's see, brought to you by Relief Windows, title sponsor of our Monday shows. We'll come back. Is the lineup posted? All right, we'll check in the break. We'll see if the lineup's posted for LSU and Northeastern tonight. Jimmy will be here in about 15 minutes for Auto Locks. Stick around.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. Complete employer solutions. It's Glow Resources and glowresources.com. Hey, if you're hiring and you need to find that person that's going to make you the most efficient, call Glow Resources. And I want to remind you that working with Glow Resources, first of all, they have a 96% success rate. 96% of the time, they hire someone for your business. They stick. In the unlikely event that they don't, you're in luck because they will either give you a prorated refund or find you another employee for free. That's how confident they are in their ability to find the right person for your job, what job, any job, in any industry, any sector. This is not a temp staffing agency. These are permanent employer solutions. So check them out at Glow Resources. GLO. GlowResources.com, GlowResources.com. Complete employer solutions.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
Oh, we get to Auto Locks here in about 10 minutes or so. Waiting on LSU baseball to drop the starting lineup for tonight's game against Northeastern as we're a little inside of an hour from first pitch. The men's basketball team lost to Oklahoma on Saturday, and I know most people already have their mind made up with what needs to happen in this program, and I think overwhelmingly the fan base is ready for a change. Last week we talked to Gordon McKernan on the show. His feeling was that change is afoot in some capacity. We also talked about last week, E.J. Kuiper, the president and CEO of FMOL Health, sort of gave an endorsement to Matt McMahon to return for next season. I think overwhelmingly, LSU fans are ready for a change. It is really hard to justify the output of what happened on Saturday against Oklahoma. That's not a good Oklahoma basketball team. They're 15-14 overall, 5-11 in the league, and they came into the PMAC and they led LSU 41-33 at half and ended up beating you by 16 on your home floor. I get it, LSU's playing out the string, but man, that's indefensible. I don't care who's hurt, who's not there. Losing by 16 on your home floor to another bottom feeder in the SEC, who I don't care if Oklahoma had won a couple of games in a row, that's an inexcusable effort in every way. I don't know what's going to happen. As we've talked about sort of loosely here for a bit, there is no consensus, and I've illustrated that with a lot of the conversations that we've had here with boosters and admins. I mean, Verge Josberry was on the show here on Mardi Gras Day, and I asked him point blank. He said, no decision's been made. We'll make that decision after the season. I believe him. And I think it's because there is the real financial concern of mounting costs, and do you want to keep adding dead money to that ledger? If this was just a basketball thing, this would be a no-brainer. And I hate to say it that way, but it's true. And I think all of us can sort of unanimously agree and understand that that is where this is right now. I also don't know what hire, other than one, would get people excited. Because realistically, top-tier coaches are not taking this job. It's not a good job. You don't have fan support. You don't have investment. You don't have interest. It's not a good job. So top-tier coaches are not taking it. So do you try to run it back with Matt McMahon? Do you go mid-major route again? Do you hire an assistant? Like, what would any of that get people excited? No. One person would. You know who he is. By the way, NC State's lost 4 out of their last 5. I mean, they had won 6 in a row in conference play. Now they've lost 4 out of 5. I don't know. I don't know. I know what I do know is there's a lot of people here who want that. You know I'm talking about Will Wade. There's a lot of people who want that. The governor of the state wants that. The chairman of the board of supervisors wants that. I know there are LSU basketball boosters and benefactors that want that. People who are still close to Will that want that. I don't know what Will Wade wants. I don't. I wish I could give you a more definitive answer on any of this stuff, but I'm not being ambiguous. I'm not being intentionally ambiguous. I'm telling you the honest truth. I don't think this decision's been made, because if this was just a basketball decision, it would be over. Because what happened on Saturday night is indefensible. And now you got to go to Auburn, who, by the way, they're scuffling under Stephen Pearl. And I mean, sitting there at 6-10 in conference play, and I fear you're going to go to Auburn. You're going to get run at Auburn Arena. And then you're going to lose to A&M. So you're going to finish 3-15 in the conference, most likely. And I don't care who you lost to injury. That's indefensible. But even still, sans a better option, I don't think they're just going to go throw money to get rid of Matt McMahon. I think more than likely what you would see is them try to reinvest in the roster and run it back, unless that one option we talked about is available. Stay tuned. All right, it's after further review. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Brought to you by Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Not too late, y'all. Not too late to sign up for the $25K giveaway. Someone is winning $25,000 cash. All you have to do is let us come to a free, no-obligation roofing inspection. Nothing else. You get a free roof inspection out of it. Free. No purchase necessary. We're not going to hound you or anything like that. You're going to get a full, detailed roof inspection, which next time, even if you don't have any damage, great. That'd be awesome news. Next time there is potentially a storm, then you can cross-reference your roof after the storm to the date of the inspection for your insurance company. Parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. That's me and Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley, our whole great staff, Joe, everybody. We'd love to help you out. We love doing business in Louisiana with people we know, and we encourage all the time to do business with someone you know. Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Sign up for the free $25K giveaway. Just go to parishbuilt.com. You'll see the form right there on the homepage, parishbuilt.com. All right, it's after further review. We'll knock out our final break of the show. Jimmy will be here for Otter Locks. Hopefully, they post a starting lineup for the baseball game, which they still haven't done yet. We'll get to that as we continue here. It is AFR.
AFR.
Man, the wearing of the green parade just a couple of weeks away. One of the best days annually in Baton Rouge. Some say the best day annually in Baton Rouge. Beautiful spring day, parade, revelry, goings on. Hey, man, you want to make that sort of like a staycation? How about you include Watermark or Renaissance? Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Watermark is Baton Rouge's premier hotel property, not far from the parade route, incidentally. What a great opportunity. Just to get a little bit of a getaway for the weekend. Book your room at the Watermark. Maybe have dinner at the Gregory. Remember, Milford's on Thurs, more casual sandwich shop. Walking distance to all the bars downtown and restaurants, all the sites in downtown Baton Rouge, the Capitol, the river, the Kid, the casinos. Man, make Watermark Baton Rouge part of your staycation. Or if you have friends coming in town for a baseball game or you're starting to plan for football Saturdays, book now at Watermark Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge's premier hotel property. It's Watermark Baton Rouge.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
Down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. One thing left to do, find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks.
All right, time to win some money.
Presented by Total Maintenance AC Repair. Same-day service means you will never sleep hot. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
I think it's safe to say that I won the bet.
Ooh. Otter. Dellucci had a rough go last Thursday.
Yes, he did.
Ooh.
Yes, he did.
Got to get it back.
What's that?
Got to get it back.
That's why on Friday from Rufino's we had to put out 5-1. So we got it back, so.
I wasn't here Friday, so that stinks. Because I didn't get that.
Well,
I just looked at my account and realized, oh, man, Kaluch had a bad day. All right. But you know what? The Gucci has won way more than he's lost, so I'm here for him.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Put out 3 on the website earlier today. NC State plus 10 or so against Duke. I mean, this is dangerous territory. You know, getting in the way of the Duke, Michigan, Florida, and Arizona train. But we're going to try at home. They had a big effort against North Carolina at home in the Triangle Series, so we'll see if they can match that effort tonight. Bad loss for Wade in the Wolfpack, losing to Notre Dame on Saturday in overtime. So they're going to need a good effort here. We also gave Arizona. I think this line's a little bit short today. We'll be looking at 7.5.
7.5
at home against Iowa State. Iowa State may just be kind of limping a little bit down the stretch here. They lost at home. Lost at home to Texas Tech. Texas Tech, that's the 3rd game without their All-American Toppin, who's out for the year with the torn ACL. So he is out. Then we're going to go to Southland for 3 games tonight, and that is we gave out UNO, and UNO is just hot, man. They went to Stephen F. Austin and beat them. The very next game, this past Saturday, they had McNeese State beat, and they lose by like 1 or 2, but led for most of the game. Tough luck loss. They've lost a lot of those close ones. So I like them against Southeastern. They're getting primed up. This is the last game before they go to the Southland tournament. Only the top 8 teams make it to the Southland tournament, and that's where we're going to add on a couple. And that's Incarnate Word. If they win tonight, they're in. If they don't, they're out as the number 8 team from the Southland. They play Stephen F. Austin. Both Stephen F. Austin and McNeese State have their seeding set. Stephen F. Austin's the 1 seed. McNeese is a 2 seed in Lake Charles later this week. And they've just kind of been looking ahead, peeking ahead to that all-important tournament. Neither have enough credentials to make it an at-large team. So we're going to take Incarnate Word plus a 6.5 at home. Okay. And we're going to take Nicholls State plus 10 at home against McNeese State. So against the top 2 seeds, peeking ahead to the Southland tournament in Lake Charles.
All right, so UNO, Nicholls, and Incarnate Word are the 3 in the Southland. Then NC State and Arizona are the other plays. A little 5-pack men's college basketball tonight. 5 teams are at home. Bunch of home cooking tonight. Love that.
Home cooking.
Where are you tomorrow?
Red beans and rice. We had Dozy Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. Great lunch specials, generous portions.
Might come see you in Handy tomorrow.
Good stuff, man.
Maybe might. We'll see. Maybe might come see you guys for lunch tomorrow.
I understand if it's out of the way on the way to the office. So.
I got a meeting at Parrish on the other side of town, but it's at 11. I could finish that at noon, and I could stop into Doe's on the way to the office. I can make that happen.
Come on by. When we get off, we eat lunch. We'll break bread together.
I'll be gone by the time you're done with your show. I got to be on air at 3. So I'm done by the time y'all are gone. All right, Otter. Thank you.
All right. Good luck.
All right. Same to you. It's After Further Review brought to you by Rouse's. Speaking of, Rouse's always has great lunch. They're a grocery store, obviously, but the deli is outstanding. The hot and boiled kiosk. I love their grab-and-go Asian bowls. They have grab-and-go sushi. They have their salad bar. I mean, if you want lunch, you can always pop into Rouse's, and they have quick, delicious options. They also, every day, have crawfish, live and boiled. The boiled crawfish couldn't be easier. Every day, their crawfish is boiled in-house. They have in-house boiling rooms. It's not brought in from anywhere else. All 76 locations of Rouse's, they boil in-house every day. They have them bagged, tagged, so you walk in, grab your bag of crawfish, corn, potatoes, whatever you want, bring it up the register, you're on your way at Rouse's. The official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com, Rouse's. This feels like home. All right, LSU baseball at 36 minutes away from first pitch. Starting lineup is posted for LSU and Northeastern. Change at the top. Jake Brown will lead off for the Tigers, and it's pretty obvious what Jay's doing here. They're trying to get Curiel into the 2-hole pretty consistently, see more fastballs, get him going a bit. So Brown will lead off and play right. Curiel in the 2-hole in center. John Pearson is going to get the start at first base. Zach York will DH. So an opportunity to get John Pearson in the field, but keep York's bat in the lineup. Then Milam will bat fifth and will play short. Braden Simpson will be in left. He'll bat sixth in the bottom third of the order. Dardar at second. Aaron Beatty behind the plate. And then Caraway batting ninth and playing third. And it'll be Cooper Williams on the bump for the Tigers. The three arms that you really figured they needed to get some mound time. Cooper Williams, Zach Cowan, and then, of course, Paz, who started last week on Tuesday and lost to McNeese. We'll see what they do when they play Wednesday at UL Lafayette. My guess is that would probably be Cowan then. We'll see how it goes tonight. So Tigers and Northeastern. It's coming up here in about 35 minutes. You can hear it on Eagle 98.1. Muse, Paulie, thanks. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
AFR.
Getting on down the road. Love to remind you about Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020. If you want to see 2020, call 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center. I've told you before, I'll tell you again, my days of wearing glasses and contacts, done forever. Had LASIK. It is life-changing to wake up in the morning and see. And I know so many of you can relate to this because you're like me. You're born genetically with bad eyes. And so you've had to wear contacts or glasses. I started wearing glasses in the 6th grade, started contacts in the 8th grade, and wore contacts every day until 8 years ago or so when Dr. Blake did my LASIK. And to be able to wake up in the morning and just see. To not have to reach to the end table and grab glasses. It's the out-of-date prescription. To shove contact lens in your eye. Can't travel without bringing solution or change a lens, or you worry if you rip a lens or get something in your eye. Just never have to worry about it again. Williamson Eye Center makes it happen.